Kenya's biggest conversation, it continues. City, the day's proverb.
Siku njema huonekana asubuhi.
Na nani?
Atakaye kuiona. Usipotaka kuiona hutaiona.
Siku njema huonekana asubuhi.
Hata ikiwa siku ingekuwa na macho na inakuangalia na utaki kuiona, hutaiona.
Okay. What do they mean by this though?
This is what I liked about it. Literally, they say a good day begins, you'll know a good day just
at dawn.
At its genesis, at dawn, at its beginning. If you want to understand it in the simplest of terms, I would go by first impressions. Most people don't wait to get to understand many things in details. It's the first impressions that they go with, and that's what they stay with. Yes. So, if that first impression, if you consider it mapema, mchana, asubuhi, okay? Now, the good impression starts when somebody meets you. So, if they find you in a cantankerous mood, that's their asubuhi, and that's what will be in their minds. Why have we developed this attitude towards our politicians that they are this, that, and the other, and none of it is all pleasant? It's because now asubuhi, they have actually pointed us in that direction and told us, by the way, folks, this is how you need to look at us. Yes, we will talk to you and tell you all sorts of things, but please do not expect us to do those things we keep telling you.
Asubuhi, that's it.
Na mapema, alfajiri aswa.
Let's talk to a politician who joins us in the studio now. Dorothy Kemunto is a businesswoman, and she has thrown her hat in the ring, and she says she would like to be elected President of the Republic of Kenya. Dorothy, the fifth, joins us in the Situation Room. Karibu.
Thank you. Thank you for having me this morning.
We call that the hot seat, so make yourself comfortable.
Is it supposed to get hotter than this?
No.
Actually, not supposed to. It will.
It will get hot. Okay, let's brace ourselves then.
Who is Dorothy?
Dorothy Kemunto is a Kenyan, first and foremost. Born here, raised here, schooled here. I do my business here. I've been in various leadership positions, I think since birth, again, being the firstborn. That's, I think, the first leadership role. I've been both in private and public institutions, positions of leadership. The ones that always stand out, those are the ones that I can mention. I've been the student leader at the University of Nairobi, representing the Women Affairs. 2012, 2013, I worked with the first administration, and we did various projects for people in the slums. I've served on the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, the Youth and Gender Board. I've been a volunteer Rotarian for about 13 years now. So that's just in brief who Dorothy is. Yes.
So some of these leadership roles that you said, you've been in the Students' Union, leader of Women Affairs, you've been on the board of KEPSA. Where else?
Where else in terms of?
Especially in public service.
Public
because
service.
You said in public and private.
I've been always behind the scenes with the administration, the previous administration, before I exited to get into the private sector.
Which one is the previous administration?
the first term, the current president's first term, I was with the Nairobi County, and I was part of the logistics team that put the lady who was the representative for Nairobi. I was part of the campaign team, of course, and we worked on a few various projects together.
So you are in Rachel Shebesh's campaign?
Yes.
In 2012, 2013?
Yes.
All right. And
not in the campaign. I was part of the team.
Okay.
You understand? Yes.
So you're part of the campaign team?
Not the campaign team. Part
Which
of
other
the team. You know, there is campaigning and there is leading. After she won, she was in leadership.
So after she came in?
Yeah, I was part of the team.
What does that mean? So what position were you holding?
I was the logistics head during that time, after she came into office.
Okay.
So, of course, we did a few projects. The ones that stand out was, of course, providing food for HIV and AIDS victims in slum areas. That was the last big project I did before I now to go and get for more private employment, where I was for about, I left in 2017. So from 2013 to 2017, I was in the private sector and then got back into my own business now, since 2017 to now.
What's your business?
I'm in construction. I also deal in general supplies. I'm in manufacturing. Yes, it's quite a big scope.
Yeah. But
I've been
you
in
know,
petroleum
listen,
products.
you want to be president.
Yes.
So you come in here,
Yes.
lay yourself bare.
Yes.
Because there are people who don't know you.
Okay.
So when you say I'm in construction,
Yes.
I'm in manufacturing, I'm in
Yes.
this and the other, give us an indication. For
Okay,
example, I am the proprietor of X that does this, this, and the other.
Okay.
And I've done it here,
And
here,
I've done
here,
this,
and here.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I build roads for free in this and this and this area.
No one builds roads for free. That is not true. No one builds roads for free. Yes, we're currently doing a project. We've been in the real estate. We're part of the people who are doing 1, 2, 3, basically supply of raw materials in the construction industry, manufacturing, beauty, and cosmetic products. I'm currently working on the product. We should launch, I think, by the beginning of next year. We're locally manufacturing. Yes, so we're working on the right products. We're still working with the government institution. I don't like mentioning the institutions because we don't have authorization to mention them. But I'm working with one of the government institutions to develop a product right now.
Let me then ask the
Yes.
question,
Yes.
why do you feel you are in a position to vie for the seat of presidency?
Because I meet all the requirements that are needed to run for the presidential seat.
Okay.
Yes.
Walk me through these requirements.
Okay, you need to have a degree. You need to be able to be elected as a member of parliament. There is the payments which I must meet. I must be a Kenyan by birth. And the others, actually meet all of them.
The reason why I
Yes.
asked the question
Yep.
is not everybody who is listening to us
Yeah.
knows and understands
Okay.
what these details are.
Okay.
So when I ask for the details,
Okay.
I mean every detail, so that when somebody is interrogating, they say, yes, Dorothy spoke to us and she went through the list.
Okay.
And given what she told us, she actually does meet the master.
Okay.
She actually is in a position because of these.
Okay.
So, but if you generalize,
Okay.
then people don't quite get what it is that. So, again,
I actually like that question because since we started this journey, I've realized that we have a new constitution that most people, I won't say ignorant,
They
but
know it
people have
exists.
chosen it. Yeah, people know it exists, but
Yes.
people haven't taken time to really read through and understand the changes which were made. And I think this information is in the constitution. It's in the IEBC website. For the different roles you want to pursue, there is all the requirements that are stipulated very clearly. So me being interested in this position required that I go and look at all the requirements and check. Do I meet this? Do I meet this? Do I meet this? And me and my team were able to actually establish that we're meeting all the requirements. Then the second thing are the information that, again, we're not privy to. We need to look at Kenya as a sovereign state. And we need to look at, there was the census which was done in 2019. And from there, we're able to understand that Kenya is largely a young population. And we cannot ignore that the young people have always been involved in the politics of this country, just that it's not been meaningful involvement in the politics of this country. By that, this is what I mean. We're involved in mobilization. I think you can see that in the news every day. The youth have always, I've been a student leader, so whatever I'm speaking about, it's something that I've experienced. So we've been involved in mobilization to bring people together. And of course, right now, the campaigning chip for all the leaders is we want to do something for the youth. And me representing also that particular group, the youth, then I'm able to understand exactly what the problems the youth are experiencing. And what we keep saying as a team is it's time we got to sit at the table. And we say if the table don't turn, we can change seats. And if there's no space available, then we need to create our own table. And that is what we are backing our campaign on. It's time we are hard. We can no longer have representation of people who don't understand what our problems are, claiming or purporting to go and represent. Yesterday I was looking at some crazy manifesto of people being given some funny monies if you get married. That doesn't even make sense anymore. I don't think people in my generation are very keen on marriage. This is statistically proven. You understand? So exactly who are we telling that if you get married, we're going to give you this and this? My generation is not very keen on such issues. My generation is very keen on having good roads. We saw people, a tragedy happens. We want good roads for people to live. We want people to afford their living costs. Nairobi is becoming very expensive. My generation doesn't care about tribe, because us, when we stand, we say if there's a Kisi who's buying fuel at 50 shillings when the rest of the country is buying fuel at 100, some crazy prices. Those are the problems I want to attend to, not what I'm told that I'm going to give you this and this. This is not a generation that is lazy. This is a generation that wants to work and earn their living and just exist. We say kuvumilia kwa Mkenya. We don't want to live in that space anymore. And when we look at the statistics, if we're talking about having at least 47 million Kenyans, and we're talking between the ages of 1 to 35, being 34 million Kenyans, statistically, then that tells you that we do need a seat at the table, or we do need a table.
Okay,
Yes.
Kemunto, you've told us why you can be president.
Yes.
Why you can, right? You've ticked off those. I mean,
Yes.
If we were to go through a list, you say, all right, yeah, eligible 1, 2, 3. But why do you want to be president?
Why do I, Dorothy, want to be the president? Like I said, I understand what our current nation stands at. I understand what our current problems are. And I am more than qualified, one, to be the president. Then secondly, I feel like I am in the best position to actually bring in practical solutions to...
Why? I'm going to stop you there.
Why?
Why? And this is a question
Yes,
that
yes,
many
yes,
would
yes,
ask.
yes.
Why Dorothy and why not Timothy, who stands up tomorrow? And why not Jane?
Why not Raila, Ruto, Ruben Kigame? Why Dorothy?
Why you?
Why not
when
Alfred
I'm
Mutua?
making the decision, rubber meeting road,
Okay.
why would I select you?
Dorothy.
Yes.
Okay. I'll go back to what I'd said, but to just be more, I think the best way I can explain this to you is this. I believe in solution-oriented projects. You understand? Like, I believe in providing solutions to our problems, not problems that I am assuming or thinking that these are the problems. And I am best positioned because I belong to that particular space and I understand the problems. And the rest of my counterparts who are pursuing the same role, I don't know them on personal levels, but I think all of us want a better Kenya. All of them, whatever they're saying they want to do for this country, that's the best way they feel like they're going to serve this country. That's the first reason. The second reason, we have a manifesto that is clearly stipulating the areas that we feel like if those areas are fixed, then we can start to go somewhere. We can start the journey to go somewhere. And then there's a very big lapse between our three groups, generations, X, Y, Z. There's a very big lapse. And I feel like I am the middleman, you understand? Like, I can communicate to the younger generation better and the older generation better. And I think it's time we moved from, we need to move to mature politics whereby we're actually addressing realities, not our imaginations. Like I keep saying, we need to understand what is the problem. If I speak to Yundo, for instance, the three of you in here, I think your problem and his problem are very different. So there's no one fits all kind of suit that whatever I want to do for you is what I'll do for him and what I'll do for him. But like I keep saying, within my manifesto, there is one thing that we're really focusing on, which is upholding the rule of law. And there's the civic education, which he was talking about, people not being able to access information that is free and accessible to everyone about our constitution, what works, what doesn't work. And us having this, the first thing, upholding the rule of law, that can fix a lot of things in this country. A lot of things in this country. And by that it means if you understand your civic rights as a Kenyan, if you know your rights, Kenyans don't even know what their rights are. You understand?
Actually,
they don't know.
Actually, they do.
They
actually do. And if they didn't know their rights, our courts would not be overwhelmed by the cases that keep coming to them on a daily basis and in an ever-increasing number.
But are we finishing those cases in record time, or
No,
are
no.
these
That
things
is a
we're
completely
prolonging?
different discussion.
Yes.
We are
The
saying
fact that we are litigious means that we know.
we know.
How
Otherwise,
many? What is the statistics? What are the numbers looking like?
what numbers would you need for you to be convinced that people know or they don't know?
Let me use you for an instance. When was the last time you sued someone for something, or someone did something to you and you took the person to court?
I never take people to court.
Exactly. So you knowing you're right and you pursuing it, that doesn't mean that Kenyans haven't offended you in one way or another.
I see what you're saying. I am using the courts as a yardstick for this very reason. Huh?
Yes.
When people actually take the step to go to court,
Okay.
it tells you of a certain awareness.
Okay.
Okay? And an understanding, perhaps even a belief, that the matter will receive some sort of resolution or some solution will be found within the precincts of the court.
Okay.
If the numbers are increasing, it simply says that awareness has increased more. I'm speaking anecdotally.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, when you say Kenyans don't know their rights, that may have been true before the advent of FM radio stations and vernacular radio stations.
Okay.
With that advent, in almost every language that you know of in this country, people get to hear these things. All these radio stations have some forum where they're talking about the law, what it means. So the level of understanding has exponentially increased over time.
Yes.
And secondly, people talk about it. Then let's bring in social media
Okay.
and the access that people have towards to information.
Okay.
Because of that increase as well, information that ordinarily you wouldn't know or have, you now have at your fingertips, so to say. So just by those numbers, and if I were to look at the statistics that you ask for and ask,
Yes.
how many people in this country have access to internet or have access to smartphones?
Okay.
The numbers are in the tens of millions in this country. So is that number convincingly high? The answer is yes. So that is my logic and that is my thinking.
I like that, and I'm in agreement with whatever you're saying fully. I'm in full agreement with whatever you're saying. But when we talk about the internet penetration, we also need to look at the regions where this internet penetration is experienced, and we're talking about the cities. But
Again,
it's not a bad thing.
again, not entirely true.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
all you require is a phone and a line and money in your phone and you have access.
And telephone connectivity.
That's it. That's it. And you have access.
That is beautiful thinking. That is beautiful Nairobi thinking.
Is it out of touch with reality?
I don't want to mention that, but we can agree to some extent to what he said.
Do you think there are some parts of this
If-
country where there is no internet
Yes,
access?
there are places in this country where there is no electricity.
Internet access.
No, we're talking about electricity. Internet is secondary.
Okay.
We're talking about electricity.
Internet is not secondary to electricity. Internet access is different.
Yeah, it's okay. Let me, again, continue on the
Yes.
same. Last
Are
time we
there-
had a pandemic, right?
Are there places in this country
Yes.
where people do not
Yes.
have access to
Yes, yes.
telephone connectivity?
Yes.
Okay. In terms of the percentage
Yes.
of the population,
Okay.
which one is a bigger percentage? Those that have access to telephone, 3G or 4G, or those that don't have?
You want me to give you a direct answer for that? But I
Yes.
want to use a point.
Not in terms
case-
of numbers, in terms of
Yeah,
percentages.
Not in terms of percentage. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, yes, last year, if whatever we're saying is the utopia, what we'd like to experience. Last year, we had a pandemic in this country, and you saw how education was affected, whereby we were not able to implement online education. If we claim that we have as much internet as we are saying on this table, you saw what we experienced, where schools were shut down. Children were not able to access education, especially
in the rural
rural areas.
Yep.
So that should give you, like, I'm just trying to create a scenario to help you understand. I live in Nairobi, and until I go to my village where there are no classrooms and where there is no internet, or there is just one smartphone, and those children were just using one smartphone this size
Yeah.
to learn
Yeah.
for the entire school. For the entire school. I'm talking about where I come from in Kisii. I'm not talking about the rest of this country. That should paint a bigger picture than we'd like to believe that we have internet in this country. Yes, statistics shows that we consume a lot. And I think our speeds are very good compared to the East African
Compared
community.
to other parts.
But I'm talking about Kenya at large. I'm not just talking about Nairobi
The bigger
City,
picture.
or I'm not talking about
Let me give you the
Mombasa.
statistics, Kemunto.
Yes.
85% of Kenyans
Yeah.
have access to internet connectivity. 85.2 to be precise.
How many people have access to phones in Kenya? In the population we use, the 47 million.
The number of people who have phones is not the. They look at the number of phones that are available.
Nairobi people have 3, 4, 5 phones. How many phones do we have here?
Okay.
So-
We're quibbling about connectivity, and for a very specific
Yes,
reason.
Yes.
We are arguing about information that people have and an understanding of their rights.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to ask you a difficult question.
Yes. Please do.
You want to be president.
Yes.
Should you not be the one who has these statistics at their fingertips?
I have an entire team that provides these statistics.
Have they
No.
provided? Have they provided you with them?
I'm giving you the reality. Whatever statistics I've provided for you is
You actually haven't given me any statistics at all.
in terms of connectivity, in terms of access to the law, or in terms of access to information. Which one do you want?
One of the things that people have in manifestos is essentially it's a solution book, according to me, meaning they've looked at the country that they live in and the country they want to represent or be president of, and they've said, look, this is how this is my roadmap. This is how we are going to be tackling these problems. This is how we are going to be looking at them. Now, one of the things that we keep talking about in this country is education.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Education, inadequate teachers,
Yes.
inadequate classrooms, substandard
Poorly paid
facilities. Yes. The poorly paid bit I will leave aside. Poorly paid compared to whom? Okay. That I will leave aside. But these are things that touch the heart of everyone. That's why I started with education.
Yes.
In your manifesto,
Yes.
how do you hope to ensure that this particular sector of our country is well managed and that the people who need this service actually get the best that they can from this service?
Okay. Kenya's education system, of course, again, is within our manifesto. And again, I like thought-provoking conversations. And I'd like to ask generally, when was the last time we had a public primary school built, or a public secondary school built, or a public tertiary institution built? And that's part of the things I keep saying, that we lost our direction at some point. Part of the projects we want to work on is to ensure that we provide Kenyans with options whereby you can choose, because once you pay taxes, actually the public institutions are supposed to be built using taxes. So, like for instance, if you're here, you'd like your child to pursue their education in a public institution, all through which I did, then they should have that option. So again, with the population increase in the country, then we need also to have better planning and implement and make sure that we're giving Kenyans these options, that it's not just private institutions that you're going to go to. Then we're going to also look at the quality of education which is being offered. The first thing we need to create is a conducive environment for our children to learn. We can't have our children studying under trees or being, we saw something in the news whereby children were being ferried across to their schools on makeshift boats. We can't have our children experiencing that. Our 844 system was what I experienced. My parents experienced it was 763. And they say it was good. I say 844 was good. But we have other options. We have the British system, which is being offered in this country. But I'd like to give Kenyans options. You get to choose. Right now, it's almost impossible to get your child admitted in a public primary school. I was in Donholm Primary. I was there 2 weeks ago. There is no vacancy. The classes we left are the same. We just keep building. With the CDF, I think we keep doing just one extra class, which is not in tandem with the population increase if we look at all the different regions. So that's something we'd like to look into, have more public primary schools, have more public secondary schools, have more public tertiary institutions. Then again, we have to look at the funding option, whereby right now tertiary public universities, I think the HELB loans have been lowered. And I think like the University of Nairobi doubled its school fees. They increased the school fees, and not really doubled, because it was from 35,000 per year to 59,000. That was what was indicated. But I went to school using HELB. I've paid my HELB fully. So I think we need to also increase the kitty such that when there's this increment in the school fees for public institutions, then the students should be able to afford it. Because right now and then, people are being pushed to not go to school, not because they're not qualified, but because they cannot afford it. And if you understand the history of this country about public universities, how students, when they got the boom, I think boom was lifted. My parents experienced the boom. So those are things we need to look at. We need to make even education affordable. If education is as good as we say it is, then we need to make it affordable. Then we need to make sure it's quality. When you look at the teachers that you're saying, we have a lot of people who've gone through university and colleges and they've acquired these degrees and these training certificates, but now we're not employing, we're doing contracts. Or the ones who
So what
are
would
employed
it take, Kemunto? What would
have
it,
not been paid. I know
what would
teachers
it
haven't
take to
been paid.
increase
Yes.
the schools that are required?
It's just about having a proper budget that is all inclusive and having all these stakeholders being put at the table when it comes to budgeting and us finding ways to raise this money and actually provide this. You understand what
So
I
how
mean?
many schools per year? If you are elected president, how many schools would you need to do in the 5 years of your first term?
Depending on the location, Nairobi will need, of course, a higher number.
Okay.
We'll look at the available spaces. We'll look at the population in those areas. So, like, we can plan at least to do even 100 primary schools in Nairobi within the first
Is this
year.
in your manifesto currently?
Yes,
You're saying
it is
So-
in our manifesto.
So what you're trying to understand is the details of your manifesto.
Yes.
So when you say you already have
Yes.
obviously scoped
Yes.
the entire country
Yes.
and said this county has this kind of
number.
population and this
Yes.
kind of children who require to be in school,
Yes.
and these are the number of schools. So
Yes.
just give us an example of Nairobi, because you say you worked with Rachel Shebesh.
No, but like I keep saying, let's stick to Dorothy and not.
No.
Yeah.
The reason I'm putting it here
Yeah.
is you worked with Rachel Shebesh,
Yes.
who was the woman rep for Nairobi. So you understand Nairobi
Yes.
very well, like you
Yes,
told
yes,
us.
yes.
So let's work with Nairobi County.
Uh,
How many schools are needed in Nairobi County, and how do you hope to get them done?
Right now, we're doing central procurement for education-related matters. So, of course, Eastlands might need more schools than we do need in the high-end areas because of the population. The population is supposed to inform. If you're talking about statistics, having 35 children in one class, that is what is the preferred number, 35 per class.
Yes.
And that is one teacher to 35 students. That's what informs the number of students. So right now, I'm not the president. Next year, there might be a surge in how many people get into primary school. There are those levels.
There
that
might not
inform.
be a surge. There cannot be a surge. It's either you have seen the statistics, how they're growing, so you can
Yes.
project.
Yes.
So if you want to be president next year,
Yes.
how many schools do you want to build in Nairobi in the next 5 years? As president of the Republic of
Yes,
Kenya, we're
I
just using
said in
Nairobi as an
Nairobi, we're
example
looking
because
at
you have
100
good
schools, at least 100 schools within the first year.
primary or secondary or both.
Primary, then we escalate. If we do, there's always the ratio. If we do 100 primary, then we need to also look at the transition rates, how many people get to secondary schools. And then again, we do the same statistics and we do the numbers and we see.
So 100
What is-
primary schools in Nairobi within
Yes,
the first year.
yeah.
This is catering for how many new students? How many students?
We're looking at 35. So it's influenced again or informed by the number of streams we intend to have in these schools.
Okay.
And the location.
So how many streams? When you say 100 schools,
Yes.
it's what size of school? 100
Okay.
schools from
With what capacity?
kindergarten to standard 8 with what capacity?
What do you mean with what capacity?
How many pupils per school?
We're trying to create the ideal of 35 students per class.
Okay.
You understand?
All right.
35 per class. So
Okay.
if we're building a school, then we need to have the numbers so that we're able to get projections and we're able to fit into those numbers.
So I'm asking specifically
Yes.
to your manifesto because
Yes.
you've said it's in your
Yes.
manifesto.
Yes.
100 primary schools in Nairobi in a year. and you want each classroom to have 35 students. So how many streams for standard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Okay.
Basically, what I'm just seeking to understand is
Is how
President
many
Kemunto.
students I intend to
President
take
Kemunto,
to
when she
school.
does 100 schools,
Yes.
will have sorted the issue of primary schools in Nairobi going forward, or will we have?
Yes.
That's what I'm seeking to
Okay,
understand.
now I understand your line of questioning. You need to understand the strategic angle, which
Okay.
is what we're saying, the 100 schools that we're looking into.
Okay.
That is our projection. You understand?
Yeah.
And in every projection, there has to be a success rate. And within those numbers, we need to transfer even the schools which are already overcrowded. The schools which are already overcrowded. That doesn't mean that necessarily we're going to put new students into those schools. There are
Yeah,
schools
it's
which exist.
redistribution of the students.
Redistribution.
True.
That is what I'm looking at.
Okay.
So the final number that you look at will be informed by all these other things.
What will
We
that
are having
information be?
classes which are holding up to 100 students. You understand?
Yeah.
Which is around 65 above the number that is expected. That is what I'm meaning. Like with the manifesto, you have to look at it from a strategic point.
Okay.
I'm not looking at throwing these beautiful statements which are not applicable. I'm looking at what is the reality. If we are having 100 students right now in class, even us putting back our children back to school last year, you saw what we went through because of the 1 meter spacing. It was almost impossible.
Yeah.
We're having our children studying under trees in these rains.
Fair
So those
enough.
are the
saying-
things we're looking at.
So you're saying with the current population
Yes.
of students in schools today,
Yes,
that we're looking then at construction of new schools
that can take
to
up the
now
students.
reduce the number of students that are currently in class
And
over
also
35.
allow for more to come in.
Okay.
Yes.
I think also very important
Yes.
to hear is that right now, if I were to go and apply for a job and I sit in an interview, the questions that they would ask me is that how would your experience then fuel, the current job? What is it that you have done? What are the activities that you've been involved in that would then now say, Kemunto then is well fixed to do this job? The presidency is not your run-of-the-mill job that you would do on a daily basis. It's very different because now you're encompassing all of these things and then putting them together. Whether you have ministries, whether you have state departments, whether you have a foreign policy, for example, whether you have an eye on how you want the country to be able to run with all these different people under you, from intelligence to defense to the judiciary to parliament to devolution and counties. I mean, it's across board. There can be one thing that you actually want to do, and that would be a legacy. But then, what in your experience, what in the work that you have done, or even things that you've aspired to do, would then unequivocally set you in the minds of Kenyans as somebody then who is prepared for the presidency?
Okay. As when it comes to the education issue that we've been addressing, I've volunteered, like I said, as a Rotarian and as a Rotaractor. And one of the things that we focused on was, of course, education and literacy. And in that experience in volunteering, that's when you get to see the raw data of what we say, what is on the ground, what is the reality, what happens. You understand? Like it's a day-to-day kind of experience for me, because this is something I've done across actually most 4 or 5 countries in Africa, and then we've done across, of course, in the other continents. But the message is the same. What we want is the same thing. We want quality education. We want our teachers to be paid to be let's look at even the transition to CBC, which is a very beautiful program. But were the teachers equipped to transition to that? Were there training sessions for them to transition to that? Were they receptive? Were they involved in the formulation? As a president, we need to understand the president falls in the executive, the 3 arms of government. We have the judiciary, which you are talking about, the security and people who are supposed to implement
You
the
have
law.
the executive, you have the
legislature
legislature,
who are supposed to make
and then
our
you have
laws,
the
then we
judiciary.
have the executive. I think we don't want to suffer from the savior complex whereby people just look at one human being doing everything. That's why we have all these 3 arms of the government. And the role is we're supposed to integrate our roles and we're supposed to work hand in hand, not cross over and do other people's jobs. You understand? We have institutions in these countries which are highly paid, individuals who are highly paid to do certain things like the ones you're asking me. We have a cabinet secretary, I think, for education, who's paid very well to make sure some of these things work. That's what I'm saying. Like, as a president, my role is not to override or bully myself or dictate. There are already structures in place that are supposed to make sure these things that I'm talking about work. My role as the president is to make sure that we work in tandem as a team and we get to accomplish the same things, which means we need to understand what the problems are, not provide solutions that we feel fit us, or we throw again these grand gestures. I'm going to take 1 million students to school. You understand? That is not practical.
Actually, it can be done. You're right when you say that there are structures in place, and you're even more right when you say there are people whose function and duty is to ensure these things get done. That is absolutely true. But you see, when you have a manifesto, it's like your roadmap. And when you think of people who will carry out that mandate, you want people who think like you, people who can share that, we call it vision. Because in the absence of that, with a structure and with a system, we will be talking about the same situation we have now, where you have all those things, and yet we are discussing this thing because it's a problem. We are asking about the schools because it is a problem. That 35 ratio, 35 students to one teacher, it is not in existence. You're talking about 60, 70, in some places even 100. So, and the classroom size hasn't changed.
Even toilets.
It is the same classroom that was supposed to fit 30. So where do these students sit? On top of each other? I mean, you actually begin to ask your question, how do these people actually learn? Now, we chose to talk about education because if somebody has a viable solution for resolving this matter in a way that you can see, yes, at the end of this, we will have a situation that makes the learner comfortable and enables that particular part of our country or that particular system serve the needs of the citizens well. If one can't get that right, how then do we know that you'll get other things right?
If you can't get the education system right, or if you can't get that...
No, yes, my feeling. That is my personal thinking.
Okay, again, I think I can say I like him and his line of questioning. Not to batter you up, but I think, again, we need to look at how we've conducted our business in this country in terms of giving these positions to the people who currently sit in those positions. We have a lot of incompetencies that we keep rewarding over and over and over again. Same people, we just keep recycling. People who don't even understand those jobs. But we still pay them and we don't ask them. The questions you're asking me, we should be holding the CS for education right now, asking him, why are these classes overcrowded? What is the plan? You understand? But we've assumed we have this savior complex whereby we think it's just one man who's supposed to solve all these problems, which is not the case. The CS for education needs to come up with, within my manifesto of what I want to pursue or what I want to achieve in the education system. I, as Dorothy, the coming president, I'm supposed to sit down with this team and let's work on contracts, achievable contracts. What is it that you want to do? This is what I want to achieve. How can this be done? What are the resources needed?
Where does the buck stop, Dorothy? Between the CS and the president?
The president?
Okay.
Yes.
The president is the appointing authority. The president has a free hand to go and look throughout the country of Kenya and pick somebody who they will nominate for the position of CS for education. Right? So the president has to have a lot of in-depth understanding of the areas and issues that are affecting the education sector. So when they are selecting this person, they know that this person has the capacity to drive my agenda when it comes to education. That means the president has to have good understanding of the issues at hand. So that he can also give the leadership to the CS. So the buck stops with the president. Okay. And that's why we're asking those questions. So what does your manifesto say? But let's also not just look at education. Maybe what I want to ask you is, from your manifesto, what is the most urgent need that Kenya has today? that you want to address, that you want to say, my manifesto is actually focused on maybe 1, 2, 3 issues?
Okay, the first is, of course, upholding the rule of law, which I mentioned. The second one is I want to focus on industrialization as a country, because we need to solve the state of unemployment in this country. And again, being paid for what you do, not what I think you deserve. You understand? Like standardize even the payment. Labor laws need to standardize payment. Equal work, equal pay, not just for women or youth, or your experience should warrant that you should get, but the basic pay needs to be standardized, and it has to be able to afford where you live. You understand? Like if you live in Nairobi, you should be able to afford where you live.
So this is standardized pay in the civil service or
across the country? It doesn't matter.
Looking at the minimum
we
wage.
all suffer the same. I don't think civil servants buy milk at different places. You understand? We're all experiencing the same thing. We should be able to experience our country. And when I talk about industrialization, of course, I'm looking at economical industrialization, and of course the social angle, whereby we need to create we need to push out skills that apply to the current market, whereby right now we have the expressway. I think you see it every day, and you see the people who are working on those roads. And we have engineers in this country. We have people who can do those jobs. We have the funniest thing is, even the sand we're using is our sand, or the cement is our cement. But if you look at who's the project heads, what is done, and we look at what happens after these people are gone, when it comes to maintenance, if people are not involved in that project, what happens after that? So in the industrialization, and I'm talking social angle of industrialization, is making sure that we produce the ideal skill set, or the applicable skill set that is conversant with the times, 2021 times. You understand? We can no longer learn theory when we live in a practical world. The third thing I'm looking at is, of course, the integration of the security team. I don't understand why in 2021 police officers are living in metallic houses. I feel like that's something also we need to look at. Even then, just having them integrated into society. You understand?
What does that mean? I don't understand.
You remember
integrating the police
into the society, them
In terms
living
of
in
where they
camps.
live, their
in terms
accommodation,
of their accommodation, the way
live
they live
amongst everybody else.
live with the people. Because if actually the intention is to protect the people, how best will you protect the people? Because right now, if there's an accident in this particular space, I know within this institution you do have the police on your call, but you're looking at homes whereby there's all these things which are happening. Domestic violence, all these things. By the time you call the police to actually come into the space, but if they live within those communities, then it would be easier. Even if we have terrorists or these people who are just harmful to the environment, we already, if the police are within the system, within the people, within the environment, then they're able to preempt. Some things shouldn't happen. We should be able to preempt some of these things. Those are the top 3 things within our manifesto.
So are you running on a political party, or are you running as an independent candidate?
It's still very early to declare. Within the IBC laws, we still have time to
No.
engage.
You already announced that you'd like to be a president.
Yes, I'd like to be a president. Even if I decide to go on an independent party or independent ticket, it's still within
So you still
my
haven't decided what
constitutional.
vehicle you want to use?
We are having discussions with various teams. If we agree, we'll on board. If we don't agree, it's still within my constitutional right again to go on an independent ticket.
Are you ready to have conversations with other candidates?
Of course.
Maybe
We all
form
want the same
coalitions?
thing. Being a president is, I keep saying, this is a vocational role. Being a leader, it's a vocational role. If we all want the same things for Kenyans, what are we fighting about? What is really the fight about? We want to serve Kenyans, and we want to provide the best country for the citizens. So then it's not a personal journey. It's about the people.
We have seen previously
Yes.
candidates come out to say, I want to be president.
Yes.
Then the next thing they are running for Senate
Okay.
or MP
Yes.
or governor.
Yes.
Are we likely to see the same from Dorothy Kemunto?
That's not my intention.
So it's president or
I
bust.
want to vie for the presidency.
Okay.
Yes.
Final message to Kenyans this morning. We're listening to you in about 30 seconds.
Okay. I keep saying, I know as Kenyans we're very hungry and we're very angry, but I think we need to be more tolerant of each other. Even if we don't agree on people's different opinions, we need to be very peaceful in how we conduct ourselves and how we conduct our business. Yes.
Asante sana. Dorothy Kemunto, businesswoman, says she'd like to be Kenya's 5th president. You've heard her this morning. Make up your mind. She'll be coming back and, telling us what vehicle she's using, whether she's going as an independent candidate or joining a political party, whatever ticket she'll be running with. She'll let us know as the days go by. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Keep it right here.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.